Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, we're diving into Apollo Infrastructure Company's latest 10Q report. But be warned, their financial structuring is so complex it might take longer to understand than building actual infrastructure. But don't worry, we'll simplify it. This report gives us a peek under the hood of this infrastructure giant, revealing their assets, liabilities, and overall financial health for the first 3 months of 2025. We're going to cut through the jargon and give you the essential takeaways. Before we get started, if you enjoy straightforward insights from corporate filings, hit that subscribe button. Also, join our Discord community linked in the description below for even deeper discussions. First off, let's acknowledge the usual disclaimer about forward-looking statements. The report is full of them. Things like anticipate, believe, expect, meaning they're guessing about the future. These statements involve risks, so remember, actual results could be very different. Apollo Infrastructure Company is a limited liability company formed in Delaware. They're in the business of acquiring and managing infrastructure assets, but structured in a way so that they are not required to register as an investment company. Now let's jump into the numbers. As of March 31, 2025, their total assets were around $1.1 billion. To break it down even further, Series I had about $323 million in assets, while Series 2 held around $806 million. A huge chunk of their assets is in investments at fair value, totaling about $926 million. What's important here is fair value is an estimate. They also have about $89 in cash and cash equivalents, which is important because this is the money they can actually use. On the other side, their total liabilities were only about $33 million, which isn't too bad considering their asset size. It means they own most of their investments without debt, which is a good sign. Looking at the A2 shares, the net asset value per share is around $26.99. This number is what they estimate their shares are worth, but it's all based on estimates. Moving to their income statement, we can see how they made money during the first quarter of 2025. Their total investment income was about $14.5 million, made up mostly of interest income. That's the money they're earning on the investments they hold. But they also had about $14.3 million in total expenses. And again, most of that was for general and administrative costs and the management fee they pay to their manager. It's also important to note the line stating expenses that were supported by the operating manager. This means the operating manager paid a portion of their expenses of $430. After taking out expenses and taxes, their net investment income was about $7 million. That's the profit they made from investments. Adding in realized and unrealized gains, we get around $13 million in increase to net assets. This statement breaks down how the company's net assets changed during the first 3 months of 2025. This is the same $13 million increase we saw on their income statement after all revenues and expenses. They also had a large influx from capital share transactions, meaning they sold more shares, bringing in another $150 million in new investments into the fund. Adding that all up, we get $156 million in total increase to their net assets. Now, let's examine the cash flow statement, which tells us how cash moved in and out of the company. They used about $276 million in operating activities, which is due to purchasing assets, but not yet earning enough revenue from these investments. But they were able to raise $144 million from financing activities, mainly from selling more shares. Overall, that leaves them with around $132 million decrease for the period. Management sees their company as a leading provider of capital to infrastructure assets. They highlight focusing on specific sectors and developed countries. They mention they are structured to not be required to register as an investment company. It sounds like they don't want more regulation if they can avoid it. Management notes their revenues depend on their management of infrastructure assets. Of note, there are interest rate risks when using discounted cash flows. They also mention risks can be reduced by using hedging. There were several exhibits, including their certification documents. It's good that management is liable to some extent for report errors and omissions. So what does this all mean? Apollo Infrastructure Company is in a growth phase. They're investing heavily and raising capital to expand their portfolio of infrastructure assets. They are making less money than they are investing. Their ability to keep making deals is dependent on them being able to raise capital and numbers. Indicate a company focused on long-term growth, but it comes with some risks. One of the major risks to me is that a downturn would affect their investments. So, in a higher rate environment as of recently, these investments would face some headwinds. Their corporate structure also adds a layer of complexity. Remember that comment about them trying to avoid regulations if they can help it. Year of all, Apollo infrastructure company seems to be following their stated strategy, but their future success hinges on their ability to manage risk and generate returns from their investments in a changing economy. Alright, that's our breakdown of Apollo infrastructure company's latest filing. What do you think? Is this a company on the rise, or are the risks too high? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hitting that like button if you found this valuable, and subscribe for more deep dives. Also, don't forget to join our Discord channel linked in the description. See you next time.